Hi, and welcome to Criminal Justice in a Nutshell. I'm John Fisher, and today we're standing in front of the Hall Center of the Arts here at Howard College, Big Spring. Today's topic, today's theory, today's issue is social conflict theory and the different types of social conflict theory. Social conflict theory was first introduced to us by Karl Marx. A lot of you know him through the Communist Manifesto. And his, on paper, the dream that we could turn around and have a utopian society if everybody received what they needed as they needed it or as they required it. And it was provided to us by those who had it, okay? To each according to their need, from each according to their ability. And that's the theory of communism, or social contract as well. Okay, the social conflict theory turns around and states that laws are created by the consensus of the community. Okay. We turn around and the largest part of society will turn around and say this needs to be against the law, and in fact that will become against the law. Or we can turn around and decide that something needs to be legal, and in the same way we will turn around and as a consensus, as a society, as a group, we'll come together and we'll make that action, that behavior legal. We see that going on right now within the homosexual, the LBGT community, to where they have been protesting and fighting and scraping and combating those laws that make homosexuality or same-sex marriage and homosexuality illegal. Lawrence v. Texas in 2001 turned around, the Supreme Court ruled that what goes on in the bedroom, as long as it's between consenting adults, is just that. It is consensual, and the government has no place to interfere. So we've turned around with a consensus, and homosexuality has become acceptable within the larger community. Okay, today we have another case sitting in front of the Supreme Court talking about same-sex marriage, and it would seem as though the Supreme Court is going to come out and rule in favor of same-sex marriage. Whether or not that's the consensus, I don't know. There's been a lot of states that have tried to push laws stating that same-sex marriage is illegal, and the Supreme Court has turned around and said, no, you can't do that. And they've been consistently doing that over the past couple of years. And the next thought or theory within the social conflict theory is that laws are created by society to protect the dominant class. Okay, so laws are going to be created to protect those who are in power. Those who are in power, those that make the law. And the theory which Richard Queenie, starting at about the 1950s, has brought about to us, has said that we can turn around and, well, not that we can, but what we do, those in power, those with the power make laws and establish laws that protect their own self-interest. And they're not so much interested in the general public. They're not so much interested in how things progress and how people progress and how society moves forward. All they're interested in is protecting their own self-interest, the social elite. There's a pastor who's in the conspiracy circles named Lindsey Williams. He calls himself the pastor to the elite. And Lindsey Williams says that the elite will make sure that they do not lose. Okay, so if they're coming about and they make a new law, this law is going to protect their interests, it's going to protect their money, and it is going to punish the middle class and the weak. And, you know, this is also what Richard Queenie has said. You know, within the social conflict theory, there is a severe conflict. And I think we're seeing this bubble over into life recently with Ferguson and New York and Cleveland and now in McKinney, Texas, to where you see the law enforcement officers protecting the elite and abusing the minorities and abusing those who do not have political power. Well, the people are rising up, and this is what Karl Marx suggested. This is what William Bonger said would happen, and this is what Richard Queenie suggested. And we found with Occupy Wall Street a few years ago, the people are rising up against the elite. They're saying, we've had enough. We're finished with this, and we need to make a change in the way that we do things. We need to make a change in the way that we, as a people, as a community, as a society, we need to make a change into the way that we are represented by our congressional leaders and our legislative leaders and by the president. And we want the common man to have a greater voice in what laws are being made and what laws are being established. And hopefully this will turn around, and if the consensus view comes to play, these laws will actually go into effect. Okay, so if we've got a police force who's protecting the elite, we've got a legislature who is making laws to protect the elite. Okay, then we've got a situation to where the middle class and the minorities are targeted for persecution by the police. And I think we've seen a lot of that materialize. Whether or not you agree with it, that's up to you. But a lot of people within the social conflict theory world believe that what we're seeing here is I cannot think of the word for the moment. But what the social conflict theorists are saying is that we're seeing the ramifications of decades or 2 centuries of social conflict theory coming to place, where the elite and the dominant society oppress and make laws that are oppressive to the middle class and to the poor. Okay, so social conflict theory also suggests that the reason why we have crime itself is because of capitalism. Capitalism, according to social conflict theory, capitalism is the bane of all evil. Okay, because we want to keep up with the Joneses, we want to do all of those things that everybody else does, that we are going to reach out and touch somebody. Robert Merton his latest book it was edited and published in 1996, but Robert Merton stopped writing back in the 50s. But Robert Merton said that every person in America wants to have 25% more than what they have right now. Okay, and it stretches into, or it becomes, strain theory or anime theory, because we want so much more. Because we want 25% more, we're not satisfied with what we have. And because we're not satisfied with what we have 2 options to go about obtaining that which we want. The first option is through legitimate means. We go get a job, we go get an education, we increase our salaries, we get into debt, like Marco Rubio was on the news this morning, and he's getting a pounding because he owes hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. He misappropriated his student loans, and the media is just slamming the man for all of these different issues, because he's not rich. Okay. But he wants to be right there with the rest of the elite. So he's going to turn around and he's going to do whatever he can to get that 25-foot ocean fishing boat. He's going to do whatever he can to get that $1 million house. He's going to do whatever it takes, legitimately and legally, to be able to obtain or to achieve his goals. Okay. Well, it might put him into a financial bind. He becomes president of the United States. He's making about $400,000 a year. He should probably have all of his bills paid off within the 4 years that he is our president. Okay, so neither here nor there. The second way that we obtain our goals, and the second way that we obtain we obtain that 25% is through illegitimate means. Okay. We turn to crime. According to Robert Merton, if we cannot obtain and achieve our goals legitimately, we're going to turn to achieve them illegitimately. We're going to turn to crime. We're going to become drug dealers. We're going to become pimps and prostitutes. We're going to gun smuggle. We're going to steal from the boss. We're going to extort money. We're going to embezzle money. We're going to do whatever it takes illegally to obtain our goals of achieving that 25% more than what we have right now. Okay, what Robert Merton also said and stressed was that once we achieve that 25%, the goal goes up to another 25%. Once we achieve that percent, it goes up again another 25%. Okay, and because of this desire to keep up with the Joneses, we find ourselves putting ourselves into trouble or risking trouble because we do not look out for what we should be looking out for. Okay, this is a social conflict theory in a nutshell. Do want to thank you for joining us today on the beautiful campus of Howard College, Big Spring, and have an amazing day.